1051.
The Breakfast Club is DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. Special guest with us today.
Yes.
Just Blaze.
Just Blaze.
What up, what up?
It's safe to say Just Blaze is a legend, right?
Yes.
I would say that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself one?
Nah, I'm just happy to be here.
Got you.
And Just Blaze is constantly reinventing himself, which I feel a lot of people don't do.
Yeah, you got to keep your ear to the street and what's coming up next. Otherwise, the game changes so fast. You be here today and gone tomorrow.
Why don't a lot of producers have like a longevity? Like, you'll see somebody was real hot one year, then it's another guy the next year, and somebody else the next year.
I think you see that more and more often these days because it's so easy for anybody to make music. Like, when I was younger, you either had to have somebody who had money or believed in you to even put you in the studio or buy you equipment, or you had to save up money, for so long. Nowadays, you get yourself a $300 laptop and you can make music.
Gotcha.
So the market is so much more saturated with people who can do it and are willing to do it for nothing or damn near nothing.
Gotcha.
So I think coming from the era that I came from originally, you had to constantly keep changing to stay on top of your game. But I think a lot of producers aren't really business minded like that. Not all, but there's a lot who aren't. So they just want to sit in the studio and tap out all day and just make beats.
Gotcha.
But there's so many people that can do that now. So it just gets to a point where you're like, all right, if I want to stay in this business, if I want to last, I got to look at what's going to be happening next year, or predict what's going to be happening next year, or make what's going to be happening next year, and kind of deviate from where you're at currently. And I think a lot of producers some are scared to take that risk, and some just don't know how to do that. They know what they know how to do, and that's that.
Now, we all thought you were going to be on Jay-Z's new album.
Yeah.
And you didn't make it on the album. What happened there?
We just didn't find that song. The thing with me and Jay is I think we've spent the past couple of years chasing ghosts, meaning the ghosts of PSA and You Don't Know, I think when we get in the studio, 'cause I was there I was around when he was working on the album.
You weren't on the Samsung commercial.
Stupid.
With Rick Rubin.
Nah, but it was actually two factors. One, the funny thing is, and I haven't really talked about this publicly, he came to see me before he started the album, and he was like, "Yo, we haven't gone, and we gotta make this happen this time." So he came to the studio. He actually came uptown, came to the studio, and we decided on 7 joints he was gonna do. Then I left him, went on tour, and I was on tour for like 3 months.
You said 7 joints you left him?
Mm-hmm. And he was hitting me like, "Yo, don't give those to nobody, don't give them to nobody." So I went on the road, and by the time I had gotten off the road, he had changed directions of the album. So he's like, "Yo, come down, and let's work this out. I'm gonna do some new records." But I was in and out of town. I was doing like 3 or 4 shows a week at that time. So it was just like trying to switch. It's tough being like a touring DJ.
He mentioned that when he was up here. He said you guys weren't on the same page. You were more.
He said you're too difficult to get in touch with, Blaze. He said you was curving him.
No, he didn't say you was curving him. He didn't say he was curving him. He just said that you guys weren't on the same page. You had other obligations that you had to take care of, and you guys just weren't at the same spot.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Like being on the road 3, 4, 5 days a week.
Most people just would have said, "You know what? Let me
cancel these shows.
Cancel the road."
You can't do that. Though. You can't do that. So it's one of those things where it's just like, we tried to make the connect happen after I got off the road, but by that point he was so far into the album, and it was like a week left.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't work well like that. Like, especially not with him. Like, because we had that legacy, I can't just go in and just make anything real quick and just be like, "Yo, here, take
So what
this."
happened to those 7 beats he told you don't give to nobody?
They're around in certain other places.
So they could. So other artists got them, or they could.
Some of them, yeah.
Okay.
Some of them, yeah. Some of them, I think, when he starts the next one, we'll probably revisit. I think it's just, listening to the album the way it came out, those records wouldn't have fit on that album. It would have sounded like we was doing it just to do it.
What kind of records were they?
Mostly really hard, soulful records.
You made Drake sound tough. That's how I knew you were a good producer. You made him sound like he had testosterone in his sound.
There's actually one of those in there, in that batch, and I'm gonna hold on to that one until he starts the next one.
What about Kanye's last album? Were you into that?
I didn't really listen to it yet. I haven't.
Good answer, swag.
Being on the road, I haven't had time. Like, I bought it, to support. I went to iTunes, bought it, I skimmed through a couple of songs. I love what's the last song? Bound. I love that record.
That's probably the only record on there I really, really like.
Yeah, I love that song. What was the other one? I like New Slaves. But other than that, like, I haven't sat with the album to really get into. I haven't even listened to Holy Grail yet.
Right.
You know, aside from the records that I already heard when I was in the studio with him, and the obvious ones like Tom Ford and whatnot, I haven't really got to sit with any albums in the past couple of months.
Now you say you're a touring DJ. What got you back into DJing? You know, because you were a producer at one point where you lived in bassline.
And how you a touring DJ if you ain't listening to no new music?
Well, there's ways to keep up with what's hot, but in terms of sitting there and just listening to entire albums, I just don't have the. It's tough. It's tough.
He's not playing album cuts when he goes in.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while you do if you come across something you like. Like sometimes I play Bound to end my shows at the very end. But the to answer your original question, I only stopped DJing from like 98 to 03.
That's a long time.
That's 5 years.
Yeah, but I was still DJing in the studio. Like I was doing cuts on records, but doing parties and whatnot. It was just, like you said, I was living at the studio. And then I got a call to do a tour in Japan in like late 2003. And I'm like, damn, I haven't DJed in a while. You know, not like in terms of a party. I was a little apprehensive about taking it, but I took it, and I just fell right back in love with, you know,
especially in Japan. They love the skills.
Exactly. They love skills. They love the music. I feel like they appreciate our music more than we do.
Absolutely.
And ever since then, it was just building back up, and I was maybe doing a tour or two a year. It still wasn't crazy. But once I put out this Higher record back in January, it was just festival offers left and right, which turned into me doing the whole festival circuit, you know, throughout the whole season.
Right.
And
that's good. Festival money is good money.
Oh, I'll tell you right now, the money I'm probably making more money now doing these tours and doing these shows than I was making records.
And that's why you curved Jay-Z. He said, you know what, Jay, I love you to death, but this is a little more.
Money in his music.
And records ain't selling like they used to anymore either.
Celebrity Net Worth says you're worth $8.5 million.
Celebrity Net Worth is all wrong.
Now
He's
when it
worth
comes
way
to Bow
more than
Wow,
that. He's worth way more than that.
What you say?
now when it comes to Bow Wow is worth $10K, and I'm sticking to that.
Oh my goodness.
But you know
But what about residuals? You say, I mean,
no, but see, here's what I was.
you was on Jay-Z's album that sold millions and millions of records, so the residuals got to be great.
But see, here's the thing. Like my attitude, and this is, you know, I've discovered this, or this has only been strengthened, being that I've been on the road so much. Is it's all about timing. In other words, I'll go on a road for 4 months, then I dedicate the next 2 to 3 months to just being in the studio making records, then go back out for maybe another 2 or 3 months. You just got to plan it out ahead of time, you know, like because you see a lot of these guys who are touring DJs and producers fall into that rut where they're on the road so much. Next thing you know, a year has passed and they made some great money, but now they have no records to go out and tour off of next year. So I'm just trying to find that balance so that things like what happened with Jay don't happen again.
Right, now you're talking money. Now, at one time you were probably known for, you spent a lot of money on video games, on
I didn't spend that much money on video games.
You don't think he gets that stuff free?
Like, the whole video game thing it's been spun out of control.
So like you spend it on toys and
he's making a lot of money off of
jewelry.
video games now, actually.
Yeah, the whole, put it this way, you know where that whole video game thing came from? My friend, or dude I know who I ended up becoming friends with, owned a collector's store. So when I first got my little bit of money, I just went and bought everything my moms couldn't afford to buy me when I was a kid. And then MTV decided to do a piece on that, and then there was a quote that was taken out of context, and it just spun out of control, which is what led to that whole Fade to Black scene. I never really dumbed out on a lot of things. Like, I think the only things I dumbed out on that I probably regret were some of the jewelry. But because
you had a bracelet that was just
oh my
stupid.
God, yeah.
Did you feel the need to compete because you was around so many ballers?
I think that was part of it. It was a twofold thing. Actually, I didn't spend as much money as people thought I did because a lot of these jewelers were new at the time and they were trying to get hot. So I was getting it at an extreme discount. But at the same time, you know what I really dumbed down on? Forget the jewelry. Just trying to keep up fashion-wise with who I was around at that time, whether it be Jay, Dame, or whoever. And like you said, a lot of times, you know, when you're at that point, you're getting it all for free. You know, I got to go to Mitchell & Ness and pay $500 for a jersey that I can't wear more than once or twice at that time. You know, I remember I sat down with one of the old A&Rs from Def Jam, and we calculated how much I had approximately spent on jerseys during that year, and it was the price of like a small house in New Jersey.
Wow.
It was bad. It was
like $250,000.
No, not that much, but maybe 100.
Yeah, because if you know a fat person, I got a bunch of jerseys to get rid of. I can't even wear them anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I told him give them to Rick Ross.
And you definitely spent a lot of money on sneakers too. I mean, you can't forget that.
I heard the article. I mean, I heard the interview with you and Combat Jack and Dame, and it's like you and Dame had beef because Dame like used to clown you for your clothes.
Nah, he didn't clown me for my clothes. He clowned me. It was two specific incidents. One was LRG had sent me this belt buckle that had rhinestones on it.
Oh boy!
And I had it. I wasn't wearing it. Like it was sent to the studio. So I'm looking at it. Whatever. He walks in like, "Oh, you about to put that on?" And then it just went crazy from there. And then the other thing was I had on a Swingman jersey because I had spent like 2 nights in the studio. Went to just go buy some clothes, but in the area that Baseline's in, there's nowhere to really go shopping. So there was a Modell's across the street. I just bought a $30 Jets jersey, wearing it for the day while I'm at work, and he had a field day with that. You know, I never. But you know what it is? I think if you were at that interview with me and Dame, you would have seen it wasn't as bad as it sounded. You know what I mean? Some things when you don't have the visual, the context isn't there.
And Just Blaze will go back and forth with you.
Oh, that's the thing. I'm so argumentative.
Very, even on Twitter.
Yeah, like I'll argue to it. But also, you know, when you have that, you have certain friends that you have those jokes with, or those arguments with, that you might not see them for 5 years, and as soon as you do see them, it picks right back up.
Gotcha.
It's one of those kind of things.
You saw the pictures with Jay and Dame seeing each other?
I thought those were old.
No.
But when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is old. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, this is right now. That's crazy.
What you thought about that when you saw it? Because you was there in the midst of the whole breakup.
I was very happy to see that. You know, like, and the smiles look genuine. You know what I mean? Shout out to Shaka for having that party and making that happen. I
think it was a birthday party.
Was that?
I think it was a birthday party.
It was a birthday party. I was really happy to see that. You know, even though all the BS happened and people had to choose sides or people got put in certain sides or whatever, I kind of feel like that picture just represented the fact that they both know that they built something special together. That you can't take that away from them.
Why did everybody seem like they sided with Jay when that happened?
I think it was probably the way Dame was.
Say it.
No, I'm saying it. I'm just trying to word it right.
I know.
I think it was probably the way. It was a couple of things. The way Dame was handling things with certain people, you know, like his mouth used to get in the way. I always used to say Dame had a great heart, but his mouth always got in the way of it. And I think he just made a lot of enemies that way. Also, it wasn't even just sided with Jay versus sided with Dame, because there were so many artists from different factions. Like you had State Property, you had Bleak had Get Low, you had Dipset, and there were even issues within those factions. You know what I mean? Where there were confrontations and issues between people from the different crews. So that kind of played into the aspect of, if you were a group that Jay signed or wanted versus a group that Dame wanted, then y'all automatically went your respective ways. Like, imagine what it would have looked like if Cam was like, yo, I'm rolling with Jay. It wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah.
But people always had an issue with Kanye rolling with Jay-Z because they felt like Dame was the one that really
was the only one that believed.
Right. I don't think that's entirely true. It's this part definitely partially true. I don't think it's entirely true because, you know, what was that? I was on Blueprint 2. Jay let Ye get a verse, and at that point, he didn't have no album out. He didn't have a record out. It wasn't like, yo, you killed College Dropout, so get on my album. There was no College Dropout at that time, not to the public, you know. But I think at that point, Jay saw the growth and the potential. So I think he saw it a little bit later. But I also think, to be honest, that Kanye developed over time and got better.
Right.
You know, like the records he was making in 2001 might not have made you want to jump up and say, I want to sign this guy. But the records he was making in 02 and 03 and leading up to College Dropout, you saw the growth and the change. You know, so even if Jay didn't believe at first, he eventually definitely did. You know, so I don't know. I mean, also at the end of the day, if you look at who's in what position and you look at who's going where and who's doing what, if you were in a position where you would pick sides, you would pick the side of the person who's probably gonna be more successful,
more stable at that time as well.
Exactly, yeah, definitely way more stable.
Any truth to the rumor that Jay laid a verse on Old Boy and then Cam didn't like it? He thought it was whack, so he took it off?
No, he didn't take it off. Jay did do a verse. I think the story is that Cam had it erased or something like that. That wasn't true. The Jay did the verse. We listened to it for a couple of days, and then just never really did anything with it. And then actually the hard drive that it was on died. You know, back then magnetic hard drives something go power outage or whatever, drive is dead. And so it was never erased, but that drive just died. We couldn't get the song off.
How was it?
To be honest, I don't remember. Like, because it was so long ago. We were doing so much back then. I remember not being mad at it. You know, was it his strongest vocal performance ever? Probably not. But it was the thing about Old Boy is it's a paint by numbers song. The song's already there. The boy, oh boy, all you gotta do is rap around that.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to make. You'd have to be really whack to not be able to make an Old Boy remix when the format is already there for you. And we all know Jay is not whack.
Right.
So
now, what's up with your boy Saigon? Are y'all you still working with him and everything?
Yeah, I helped him out with his last album. He put out an indie album a couple months back called Bread and Circuses. There was no way I could be as involved as I was with the first album. But you know, every couple of months he'd come bring me records, and I'd just give him pointers like, "Yo, change this, change that. Send me this record. Let me do the drums over for you. Let me add these guitars for you here." Like, just you still gotta support your people. It's like he's like family to me.
Now he's gonna be on Love and Hip Hop New York too. I heard that's what the rumor is.
That's what the rumor is.
Yeah, does that mean you're gonna be on there too?
That's not what the rumor is.
You think that's a good look for Saigon?
You know, there are very few people who I think can pull off going on these shows and maintain their integrity and not get edited. You know, the one thing I told him, I said, don't give them anything to edit that can make you look crazy. You know, like, because I've been part of reality TV, I've been part of the production of reality TV, and I know how that goes. You could not really wild out on set or on camera, and they can still edit you to make you look crazy. So I'm like, yo, give him as little ammunition as possible to make you look crazy. Plus, I mean, he's a very stand-up dude.
And he's very hot-headed.
Yeah, and that's what I was nervous about. You know, he's a very stand-up dude, but he's also very hot-headed. You know, and he's definitely gotten better with that over the years because he's had kids. So I see the growth in his temperament. So I'm hoping that, again, like, you know, he doesn't give them any ammunition to edit to make him look crazy.
What went wrong with Saigon? Like why didn't he pop the way he was supposed to?
You know, it was
or like it seemed that he was supposed to.
Two. I think it was twofold or two incidents. Actually, three. One, the label, because he was buzzing so big on the underground circuit back in like, what was it, 04, 05 or whatever. And Atlantic had heard that I took interest in him, and then they found out that G and Hip Hop were interested in him, and we were just talking about maybe doing something. As soon as they did that, they put an offer on the table without hearing any music. And I think that was a mistake on the label's part because they thought they were getting the next 50 Cent, but Sai's not that kind of rapper. He was more of a conscious. Came from a angle of street consciousness. So they thought they were getting one thing, and then when they started getting records, it was like, oh, we don't know what to do with this. Because at the time, they were very heavy into selling ringtones, and he wasn't making ringtone music. And then there was the incident where he had that incident with Prodigy, and at the time, the record had just started getting added to stations, and the biggest station that was supporting him was the one was sponsoring the event where that happened at, and they had to pull the record because right after it happened, if you remember, there was an edited video that made it look like they beat Saigon up when actually he was the one who got his hit off and ran out like he should have, because it was 30-on-1.
See how they can edit stuff?
Right. You know, so he had, in an attempt, I think, to save face, and because he was still angry, he got on, I think it was MySpace at the time, and was like, kind of made it seem as if he got like he went there to get Prodigy. And that wasn't really the case, but that's how his message or his blog came off. So the station pulled the record because they were like, you're making it seem like you came to mess up our event. You know, and even though that wasn't the case, that's just how it looked publicly.
Right. And
so when the biggest station supporting a record at the time pulls it, cut off the head, the body's gonna die.
Yes.
All the other stations stop supporting it. And then once we realized that Atlantic wasn't going to be able to support this album and sell it properly, he just spent years trying to get off the label. You know what I mean? And at that point, it's like, I think, emotions and anger probably come into play, so you're not as productive because you put together this great album. You spent 3 years working on it. You can't you got records getting played on the radio. You're hosting things on BET. You're hosting things on MTV. MTV's giving you full 30-second segments in between videos. Not even MTV2, like regular MTV. And
MTV2 is popping now too. I don't know if you
yeah.
realize.
But no, I'm saying back then,
Yeah, got you.
he was getting featured on MTV like 5-6 times a day in these 30-second spots, and none of that was from the work of the label. That was all off the strength of his music, and then things that we had done. So I think the anger and the frustration and that happening just kind of made him fall back for a while. On top of that, it's like he was like, "Yo, I could go make a bunch of music, but I can't put it out. Like I put it out for free. That ain't really gonna help me though." So I think it was really just a situation where it was just circumstance. With him, but he's back on his indie grind. Like I said, the album finally did come out, did about 50,000, which is not bad for an album that came out 6 years later after the buzz had died. Gotcha. He still tours. He tours overseas. He does shows here, so he's still in a good place. Like I said, I think he's probably happier now than he's ever been because he's got kids now and he's enjoying fatherhood.
Gotcha.
Right. I feel like he always want kids and everything.
Yeah.
He used to say that. Now, what about Master the Mix? You were on that show when it first started and came out. What happened? Did you not want to do another season of it when it got more mainstream?
No, it was a number of things. Part of it was timing on my end. Going to VH1 changes things budget-wise. Because when you go to a station like a VH1 or MTV, their attitude is a little bit different. It's like, we don't really need to pay you that much because we're this network.
Right.
So we're not going to be breaking people off the same way. And when the show moved to VH1, there were certain new people in the mix. Just the responsibility shifted, the production company shifted a little bit. So they still wanted me involved, but it between the timing of me being on the road, the budget changes, it was just
not worth it for you.
It was not. I wouldn't say it wasn't worth it. There was nothing that we could find that made sense. In terms of me being involved with the show on a frontman level, I'm still doing stuff with them behind the scenes. I'm still working with them on tours and other stuff, and we're actually doing. They actually want to do an actual Master of the Mix album that features different DJs that have been on the show, and I'm still helping them put that together too. So that's still a fan. I just couldn't frontman the show anymore.
Why do you never put on the leather pants and jump out there and start rapping or something?
Yeah.
The funny thing about that, like I started out. I mean, we're about the same age. Back when we was young, it was like you DJ'd, you rapped, you probably, if you want to take a step further, you probably wrote graffiti, break dance. I did all that. I
ain't do all that.
No, but I'm saying, but if you were really into the culture, back then you did all that. What you didn't just do one thing. Gotcha. And as I got older, I realized that I was better at DJing and producing or making beats. I wasn't really a producer at the time than I was at rapping. I could write, but I just never liked the sound of my voice or my delivery, or the way I used to deliver.
I mean, a lot of the producers are all whack, so it's not like you had to be dope.
But you know what? I feel like a lot of producers actually, even though they're not the best lyricists, they make the best songs. Like, you can't deny that Kanye doesn't make good songs.
Kanye can rap, though.
Yeah, but when he first came out...
I'm speaking more like Diddy.
That's different.
Timbaland.
So what you're saying, there is some old audio of you rapping floating around.
There's plenty. I put it on the internet. Like my old demos from when I was like 15, all that's out there. You couldn't tell me I wasn't CL Smooth. But then there was a point there was also a point when I had dreads, you couldn't tell me I wasn't Busta Rhymes too. I got Busta Rhymes sounding demos. But
I never heard nobody say they want to be CL Smooth. CL Smooth was dope. Yeah. But I've never heard nobody say that. Like,
I think it's the voice.
Nah, it was just at the time Pete Rock, like when I was actively pursuing that, Pete Rock and CL Smooth was the hottest thing out.
Yeah.
But over the years, like people always ask me, like, yo, you should rap, because I used to write so much for other people, or give other people lines or verses or whatever. But I'm just like, I'd rather do that and just get that little bit of extra money from the publishing than that. I got bad asthma, man. I ain't gonna be jumping around on stage.
But you do great ad libs and stuff.
Yeah, I just stick to the ad libs. Run out on stage, do a couple ad libs, and be out.
Now with rapping, who is some of the best artists you work with, and who is some of the worst?
I would never throw anybody under the bus, so you won't get the worst.
But you gotta explain the
but you
rumor,
can tell us later.
Or before you, the rumor of Beanie Siegel in the studio, and he allegedly woke up and his chain wasn't there. I just want to hear that story one good time. I've heard rumors about the story.
So you canceling the last question up?
No, but this is. I want the first question and that question.
I mean, obviously, working with Jay is like, you know, when we're in that zone, it's not even work. You know, it's just us doing what we do, and we're good at it. And he kind of just lets me do me.
Right.
You know, like, whereas with Eminem, he's a great artist as well, but his approach is very different. Excuse me, he's a lot more hands-on, he's a lot more involved. Still a great process, because he's an insanely creative dude. It's just a different process. Like, with him, he's very much in the studio while I'm making the beat. Like, yo, I like that, I don't like that, let's do this, let's do that. Like, oh, let's try structuring it this way, whereas Jay is kind of just, hook it up, let me rap, you know, get my thing off and be out.
How about Jay Electronica?
Jay Electronica, same thing, when we're in that zone, super, like, I mean, we made Exhibit Exhibit C in 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Is there a Jay Electronica album?
Yeah.
I see y'all tweeting each other.
I have it in my phone right now.
Word?
Yeah.
Now,
it exists.
Now,
He ain't bring nobody with him, then.
But
Call Wax in there real quick.
but like, even when I went out to see him in London last year, we worked for a couple of weeks. It was just like effortless, just coming up with records in the studio, like, you know, like it was nothing.
So how many songs does he got?
I would say the album in the state that I left it in, it was probably about 16. That first track listing he put out, I think, was like 13 or 14. Then we did like 3 or 4 more. So about 17 songs.
Why do you think he seems so hesitant to put it out?
He's too much of a perfectionist, maybe.
Dr. Dre syndrome?
Yeah, like, but he's also Jay be the first one to tell you, my train is, I may be late, but my train's always on schedule. Mm-hmm. You know, like, meaning it's hard to, at a certain point, it was kind of hard to argue that, because it was like, he put out a record, disappear, and it would do very well for him, disappear for a year, come back with another record, and it would do even better than the last one. There's not many artists who could pull that off. So at a certain point, I'm like, all right, I guess you know what you're doing, or fate will line up, or the stars will line up for you. You know, the album is dope. The album is incredible.
Will it be worth the wait?
Put it this way, I think so. You know, okay. Do I think it'll come out and sell a zillion records? Who knows? The people who love real hip hop, I think will love it.
It seems like Exhibit C only came out because really you played it, and
That's exactly
he wasn't even thinking about.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. I went to the station. And I was doing the guest set, and I just played it. And all of a sudden, the phone started lighting up, and people started calling, asking what it was, and people started posting radio rips on the internet. And next thing you know, it was on the radio constantly.
You probably would have never put that out of you.
Yeah, you probably would have never put it out.
I definitely forced that a little bit.
Why don't you force some more stuff?
Nah, because it's a different situation now. Back then, I was a bit more in control of the situation. Mm-hmm. You know, there's labels involved now and whatnot, so it's not my. People always say like, "Yo, why don't you just put it out?" And I'm like, "I'm not the label." You know, I'm a producer on the project, right. And like a co-executive producer, I can't just do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially when he's out there living in London and I'm out here. If we were here, things might be a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But it's like he's in a whole different mental space out there in London.
Now Beanie Sigel.
Mm-hmm.
Back to that.
In the studio, he falls asleep on the couch. Allegedly, his chain is missing.
Mm-hmm.
What happened, and were you producing that record?
I actually wasn't there.
You took the chain and left?
Nah, I was actually at Quad working on Capone. I think Capone was on Def Jam at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Capone? I'm trying to think. Somebody, a Def Jam artist that was I think it was Capone. We were at Quad, and I'm packing up to leave, and I get an email. This is all I'm gonna say. I got an email. If you were at the studio, if you're on your way to the studio, don't come. There's blood everywhere.
Right.
Beanie Sigel.
Now, rumor has it that Beanie Sigel fell asleep and a chain fell off his neck and fell into the bottom of the couch.
Nah, I don't think that happened.
Okay, so
maybe is that why the couch was messed up? Nah, I don't think that happened. How do you fall into a bottom of the couch? What do you mean?
I heard.
Fell, he said.
I heard you were producing. I heard there was a lot of people in the studio. Beanie Sigel fell asleep, and that big state property chain.
No, I'm just saying, like, what is?
We're missing. They said when he fell asleep, he might have put it on the side, and it fell into the back of the couch, in the cushion of the couch.
Oh.
And when he woke up, he couldn't find it, and they said that he just beat everybody bloody.
Yeah, it was bad, but I think
he said, "Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad." But I wasn't there though.
Okay.
I missed all of that. Like I said, I was at Quad. I was actually on on my way.
I know he was like, thank God I was at choir today.
Yeah, I was on my way when that happened.
Like, thank God I got that email before I walked in.
And I see, but the speculation always was that the chain did go missing, but there was a certain point where beans would come around a lot of times with people that none of us knew.
Right.
Like it was like every couple of months there was a different crew. And these might have all been people that he may have been friends with for a long time, but we didn't know none of them. So the speculation was always that people always thought it was one of his random people that he brought from Philly that took the chain. Because you think about it, like, all right, say like if you was asleep on the couch and you had a chain on, and me being who I am, and here you wake up to me pulling your chain off your neck, you're gonna bug out. You're gonna be like, yo, what are you doing? But if it's
trying to get me naked, just
right? No, just like you trying to steal my chain. But if it's your man, like if you fell asleep and Evie's taking your chain off, you're not really gonna.
You probably think he's about to play a joke on you.
Yeah, it's easy to play off. You know what I mean? Like so.
Oh, I was gonna hide your chain.
Exactly. So we always thought that it was one of those dudes because it definitely wasn't none of us. I mean, I wasn't there, but the people from our crew who were there, like none of them would do that. They need their jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it just didn't add up. It didn't make any sense. Also, the rumor always had it, and I should have checked before I tore down Baseline. The rumor had it that rumor had it that the chain was actually flushed, and that was the reason why the toilet kind of never really was the same after that night. I never
flushed it.
He can't flush that big ass state property piece.
That's probably why the toilet didn't work.
The toilet stopped. The toilet was after that point. The flush game was always messed up. Like the drainage was bad. To the point where they were gonna try and get it replaced. I was gonna have it replaced, but then I just tore the place down. But I never thought that when we demolished the bathroom, I never thought to go check.
Beanie Siegel woke up. Somebody's like, "Oh, let me flush this toilet.
Let
me
get
down
rid
the
of
toilet. I got
ASAP."
nothing." All right, so now you have a new song that you have coming out, and that's gonna debut on the 13th.
Yep.
All right, so Jay-Z. Is it Jay-Z sample or is Jay-Z on the song?
Here's what it is as of right now. Here's where it stands. Jay did the intro to the record, and then I chopped up vocals from You Don't Know and made the record out of that. After I played it for him, he jumped on just to do that. But here's the thing: he didn't do the intro with the intention of even doing the intro. Just to give you the backstory on the record. Did the record basically as a commercial for the tour that me and Bow were about to go on. So we did the record really just on here, put it up on SoundCloud. If you want to come check us out, this is our new record, whatever. And the night that we were making the record, Jay called me, like, yo, come to the studio real quick. Actually, no, Beyonce's people called me, come to the studio. So I go over to the studio to go meet with Beyonce about something, and Jay's there. So I played Jay the record. He's like, yo, that's dope. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we had the meeting, we walk out, and then I go back in the room and I'm like, yo, Jay, before I leave, can you do a drop for the tour? Just something that we could play while we're on stage. So he did the drop. So then when I went back to the studio and started working on the record again, I'm like, yo, wait a minute. The drop may work as the intro for the record. So we did it. I sent it to him. He's like, yeah, that's dope, cool. And we never had any intentions of putting the record out for sale initially. I put the record out on a Thursday night at 4 a.m., which most people will tell you who are in the business of selling records that that's the worst thing you can do.
Right.
Like, like no fanfare, no announcement. You just randomly put it online. And like management was upset, and I'm like, this is weekend music. This is for people who are going out on the weekend. I don't care if it gets posted on blogs or whatever. Like, this is for the people. I put the record out, and like in an hour, it had like 3,000 hits. I'm like, that's interesting. Checked back around 8 a.m. and it was like at like 4,000. I'm like, I don't think records usually hit this quickly on a SoundCloud with no, with no word of mouth, with no announcement. By Sunday night, it had 300,000 plays. And I was like, yo, I think we got something here. So we started making moves to put the record out officially. I think where the confusion is now is people think that Jay-Z's on the record because it says Just Blaze and Bauer featuring Jay-Z, but it's really just the vocal sample.
Okay.
That being said, we have talked about the possibility of doing a remix. There's actually a few people who've already jumped on it. I'm just waiting for the right time to put that out.
So does this mean you're doing a whole album?
No, I don't think so.
You're not ready to put the leather pants on?
I can't, man. I can't do it. Like, I think for me, the worst thing a man could wear is leather pants.
What?
Yes.
Why?
Have you ever told Kanye that?
Aside from a dress.
Kanye's done both.
I can't. Like.
What about leather jogging pants? Charlamagne has a pair.
I can't.
Just sweatpants, actually.
Like all
jogging
leather?
pants.
It was like I got
when they're leather, they're jogging pants.
Yeah.
And they white, right? They white.
Had black and white.
Oh man, yeah, I can't.
I like how he threw it on Kanye, but didn't talk about himself having some.
It's not. If you got like maybe like some real fresh like cargos with some suede highlights here and there, that's cool.
No,
but
he
like,
had leather.
But just straight up like butter soft leather pants.
But
Leather
it's soft.
sweatpants.
No.
Yeah, he had leather pants.
No, it just doesn't work for me.
What about their leather with like some nice knee pad?
Nah, you know, like even like Royce. You know, I'm executive producing the Slaughterhouse album.
The new one.
Yeah, the new one. And Royce showed up one day and had like some sweatpants with like leather on the back, like not on the butt,
leather
but, like,
trim.
Yeah, but it was like weird.
It was weird.
What about leather shorts? Like
no. Why would you want leather on your legs at all? I mean, for girls, fine, but for guys, what? You didn't get hot?
You were hot.
You said you were hot.
I was hot. The black ones are cool though. The leather shorts and all that, I can't do all that. Though.
Why would you wear
and leather t-shirts? I am.
Leather t-shirt, just
come on, man.
Tank top.
That's like the stuff you used to see in the back of the Source magazine in the 90s.
Yep.
Like the leather.
A lot of
vest.
rappers doing that, man.
No, I'm cool, man.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Breakfast Club, and we have Just Blaze, aka No Leather.
Yes, no leather.
Appreciate you joining us. It's the Breakfast Club.
Real people, real celebrities, real talk.
Join the Breakfast Club. Blast off in your ear. Weekday morning 6 to 10.